Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Karate America Community live stream. I'm Mrs. Quirk, and it's great to have everyone with us tonight who's watching on Facebook, Twitch, and YouTube. Tonight, we have our very special guest. As you know, in the month of June, we are talking about all things dads, role models, karate dads. So we have two awesome karate dads with us tonight. Welcome to Mr. Jay Hansen. Welcome, sir. Thank you for being on the show tonight.
Thank you.
Good to have you with us. And Mr. Meindl, thanks for being here, Mr. Meindl.
It's my pleasure. Thanks for the invitation.
Yeah, absolutely. So we are going to get into a conversation here in a few minutes with our two guest star karate dads. But before that happens, we are going to go ahead and get to some announcements for all of our community members. Also, just a reminder, if you are tuning in for the first time, if you are a weekly visitor for our live stream, first of all, thank you for coming back and making this such a successful live stream every week. You know the drill, but if you're new here, if you are on Facebook, make sure that you should see in the prompt above in the posting on Facebook how you go in through StreamYard, which is the platform that we're streaming through, and you actually register. And then when you leave a comment or a question for our guests tonight, we can actually see your name and you don't just show up as random Facebook user. If you are watching through Twitch or YouTube, you're all set. But if you're watching through Facebook, you will need to set yourself up that way and go in through StreamYard in order to leave a comment and us to see your name. So we got some pretty cool announcements here on the docket tonight. First and foremost, I know a lot of you are excited about this. We got the Mr. Roland Osborne Thrive Seminar this coming Saturday, June 26th at Karate America Brookfield. Okay, here's the deal, guys. The intermediate and advanced seminar is completely booked. That one's sold out. We don't have any spots left for that. I think we might be doing a waiting list for that, but I'm not sure. You can check with Ms. Hansen at Karate America Brookfield, Ms. DeWade at Karate America Worldwide on that. We do have spots left, however, for our beginner seminar, which is great news because this is a perfect seminar for people who have just started in martial arts or don't even know anything about martial arts. So the 9 to 10 a.m. seminar, we still have some spots left for our Brookfield families. You can register on the app. If you have any questions about that, go ahead and give our Ms. Hansen a call at KA Brookfield at 262-789-5437. If you go in through the app and you're not sure how to register yourself or your son or daughter, make sure you give Ms. Hansen a call and she can help you out with that. Mr. Osborne is a phenomenal motivational speaker, martial artist. He's been all over the world. He's been on Discovery Channel. He was a guest right here on a stream a few weeks ago, and he's going to have a phenomenal event on Saturday. So I think there are still some spaces left for some of our Pewaukee families. I'm not 100% sure, but if you're even thinking about this for your son or daughter, stop thinking and start registering. Go right onto the app for this coming Saturday, June 26th. We are going to be closed. We take a break for the Christmas holiday and then for the Independence Day holiday week. So we'll have no classes July 5th through the 9th at Brookfield, at Pewaukee, and for our virtual worldwide families. So no operations, no summer camp, no classes on those days. Everybody have a nice Independence Day holiday break with their family and then come back and ready to rock mid-July. Speaking of July, sign up to walk with Karate America Brookfield in our Independence Day parade in Brookfield. Now it's for the 4th of July. The parade is on July 3rd. So if you have any questions, make sure you follow up with your team. If you're a Pewaukee family, we would love to have you march with us at Brookfield. Obviously, if you're a Brookfield family, if you're a worldwide family and you're in the southeastern Wisconsin area, we'd love to have you guys out for the parade that day. It's a really special memory to make with your son or daughter and your family. So contact Brookfield team or register on the app to walk in the July 3rd Independence Day parade in Brookfield this year. We're excited to have that parade back in the swing of things after the pandemic. Another great thing coming up in July is our picnic. Guys, this is going to be a really special picnic because, as most of you know, we were not able to have it in 2020. We are having it this year. We're having it rain or shine. And we have some really, really cool things. We have some entertainment planned for you guys this year. It's going to be because of just some food requirements, post-COVID. We're not doing the thing where we serve you food. However, you bring your own, each family bring your own picnic lunch, folding chairs. We're going to have some great desserts for you guys. Like I said, some games, some entertainment. We have the entire park rented out in Menominee Falls for Karate America. We usually have about 200 plus people at our picnics. And this year we're hoping for a really big turnout. So it might be even more. If you want to meet some other fellow Karate America families, students, connect with your son or daughter's instructor, It's just an awesome opportunity. It's one of our most popular events of the whole year. You can now register on the app. There's no cost. There's no charge, of course, for the picnic, but we do like to get a head count. So if you think you and your family are going to join us for that picnic, make sure you go onto the KA app, register. You can also choose your dessert on the app and let us know how many. I think we are going to have Rice Krispie treats, some fruit cups, some other cool things. So make sure that you go on the app and let us know what you and your family would like on that day. We're doing Cool Days of Summer, and it started this week. Mr. Hansen at Brookfield is very excited about this. He did this really cool poster. So this week we have Fun Hair Week, and I saw some pictures posted on the Brookfield Facebook page earlier. We already have, of course, some really cool fun hairstyles from our students. There's a raffle, there's prizes. They're doing a whole thing this year. So if you're not sure how you or your family can participate in our Cool Days of Summer, make sure you talk to your team and your instructors at your academy and find out how you can get involved. These are really, really fun special days we do for our students, and also worldwide virtual students too. So if you're a student or a family that's training from home, you too can participate in our Cool Days of Summer. Make sure you ask your instructor, ask Ms. DeWade. Mr. Pieper should be back in the swing of things here soon, or any of our other instructors. So ask them how your son or daughter can participate in the Cool Days of Summer with Karate America worldwide. And let's see, last but not least, oh yeah, in July, we got underbelt graduation coming up, as well as black belt star test. So July 24th, for all of our underbelts, that's all the belts that are lower than black belt, this is going to be graduation for you guys. So if you're not sure if your son or daughter is graduating, what the requirements are, when you should show up, all the details, make sure you follow up with the teams at your academies and find out how you get all set to have an amazing graduation coming up on July 24th. Of course, it's also going to be our black belt star test for our master's team students earning their next stars toward their next degree of black belt. So that should be a lot of fun too. Again, any questions, make sure you follow up with your teams at your academies. Okay, I'm done with the announcements, guys. I always say my team keeps me hopping. I hope I didn't forget anything.
Oh boy.
They let me know about it if so.
That's good.
So we are going to start talking with Mr. Hansen and Mr. Meindl. If you have any questions, insights to share with them tonight, make sure that you leave us a comment. Let us know where you're watching from. If you've got some belts in your household, maybe you got a little white belt, gold belts, black belts, red belts, whatever you might have, make sure you leave us some colored hearts that let us know what belt is in your household while you're watching the stream tonight. That's always fun. So Mr. Hansen, we're going to start out with you, sir. I really wanted to thank you because did you take the adult class tonight before this stream?
We did, yeah. We had to leave early though.
Oh, okay. And did you take it?
Getting good. I mean, we were just getting warmed up and ready to go, and we had to leave.
Oh boy. Well, sorry to take you away from Mr. Quirk's class, but hopefully we'll get it with you on the stream tonight.
We'll do it again tomorrow night.
There you go. So you are, for people that don't know, this is Mr. Hansen, and one of his claim to fame is that he is Mr. Hansen and Miss Hansen's dad. So clap to you, sir, and your wife for putting out wonderful people out into the world and doing a great job as a dad, delivering such wonderful human beings like Mr. Hansen and Miss Hansen so that we could all benefit from them.
And there's two more.
There are two more, right? So, and they are all a tie for first place. It's just we happen to know about Miss Hansen and Mr. Hansen in Karate America. The other two, I think, are down south in Texas right now, if I'm not mistaken.
Both in Texas.
Both in Texas. So, tell everybody watching, what is your story with Karate America? How did you get involved with our organization, with our martial arts academy?
That's very interesting. It wasn't through participating in classes, but about 2007. I opened a print shop in Ruby Isle, and it was down next to where the yogurt store is.
Yeah, in Ruby Isle and Brookfield, right?
In Ruby Isle and Brookfield. We opened that up back then, and it was through our print business that I met actually both Mr. Mark and Mr. Jeff Quirk, because I think at that time they're both kind of together. Mm-hmm. And we began doing the printing of all your materials.
Yeah, for all our flyers and stuff.
Flyers and schedules and whatnot. Anything that you hand out, we started to print. And that's how I got introduced to Karate America. So I wasn't a student or anything. I just was, opened a business and y'all became a customer. And, that lasted for quite a while.
Yeah.
I operated that business in Ruby Isle until about 2012, and then we moved to down Calhoun Road into New Berlin, and we continued to service your needs. And shortly after we moved, I sold the whole business to Ryan, Mr. Hansen, and I went on and did some other things, and he continued it on. And somewhere along the line, I came back and started working for him part-time. And then he sold, once he became passionate and just determined that his passion was teaching karate, then he went ahead and set out to sell his business so he could come to Karate America full time. And that was I'm guessing about 3 years ago.
Yep, that was a good day for us.
Yes.
And all of our students.
He sold that business. I continued on with the people who bought his business for a year until we retired. I retired and moved up here. We're in Lake Tomahawk, which is about between Rhinelander and Minocqua. And so I headed up here, and that's how I got involved with Karate America. So that meeting back in 2007 more or less led to Ryan, Mr. Hansen, I should say, becoming involved in karate. I think he got involved in about 2010, and started taking classes as a student. And somewhere along the line, I don't know exactly, but Miss Hansen, Jessie, when she finished up at the University of Minnesota and came home, got involved, and
now it's a whole family thing.
A whole family.
When did you whenever I think I remember either Miss Hansen or Mr. Hansen or both invited you and your wife, Mrs. Hansen, to be students. Did you jump right in, or were you hesitant at first? Did you take some convincing?
I started this past October. You had an event or a week there where you could bring a friend or whatever.
Yep.
And Mrs. Hansen actually, when I moved up here about 2 years ago, Mrs. Hansen hadn't yet retired. She had one more year. She worked in the Franklin School District, so she had one more school year. So she actually moved in with Jessie, Miss Hansen, and she has always been involved in doing something actively, whether it be exercise or whatever. So I think Miss Hansen, or maybe even Mr. Hansen, kind of convinced her to try it out. And she started doing class there in Brookfield while she was still living in New Berlin at that time. And so that continued whenever she started doing that. That continued all the time until COVID hit and the school shut down. The day the schools shut down, 4 hours later, she was up here, and she finished out the school year virtually until she actually had her formal retirement in June of last year. And so she continued on up here. In the beginning, you guys didn't have what you have now worldwide, but you did have classes being produced. She would
we were trying.
She would do them the next day. So if it was a monthly class, she would do the recording, and she worked out at the same time. Our son Kevin, who's out in Lubbock, Texas, he came up here at the same time. He lived with us for like 3 months until he had to go back to Texas. But he got it worked out so she could load it up on her computer and do the program on TV. And she continued to do that all summer long. And then when the Bring a Friend or whatever event that was I think it was the end of October, early November, then they said, "Come on, Dad, you got to do this. You got to do this." I did it reluctantly, but it's being both retired now, we do a lot of activities together. All of our activities, we, whatever it is up here that we do. And so I said, I'll give it a try. And, it was very hard at the beginning because I was using muscles and things like that hadn't been used in quite a while.
Right.
But no, once I got going at it, and your program evolved, your worldwide program continued to evolve, and now it's a staple.
And now here you are every week. You guys are in class. Well, what about you, Mr. Meindl? What's your story with Karate America? How did you get involved?
Sure. So I saw that Mr. Pieper was in here saying that tonight's episode is going to be great. It's going to be. I hope you're doing well, broski. So first, I'd like to say thank you to Mrs. Quirk for inviting me on. Our story is a little bit different. It involves our children.
Mhm.
But how we knew you guys was we met Mr. and Mrs. Quirk through an extracurricular outside of Karate America and kind of became friends with them. And then kind of they introduced us to their business. And so we have a 6-year-old Lucas at the time, and he has some confidence issues and is sometimes unsure of himself.
Mhm.
And this was in the middle too. So right around the time that COVID was hitting,
Yep.
I don't want to say it in this way, but hitting its stride at the time when
Yep.
people were really scared with what was going on.
Yep.
And so my son was doing virtual school at home at the time, and we wanted him to get involved into an extracurricular to interact with someone, outside of the home. I was
Mhm.
working from home at the time, so me and him were kind of getting sick of each other. and so you had mentioned that you guys were doing virtual.
Yeah.
And so we started with the younger Mr. Hansen.
Yeah.
And he started working with my son at the time. You guys had a free trial going on and introduced him. I had done Taekwondo when I was younger, so I was kind of not really familiar with the karate experience, but I did a little research into it and your facility and your schools, and they all looked great. And so our son Lucas signed up for it, and then it was off to the races. So Mr. Hansen kind of started him building his confidence up. And then Mr. Pieper and a couple other the instructors took over, and they were really great with my son. And so now he's on his white and purple belt, which is awesome.
Wow.
And
he's that far. That's amazing.
And he's been crushing it. It's built up his confidence. The instructors have been really good, and it's been cool too to see as a business, the business model develop. Where originally it was more of the instructor one-on-one, and now there's like sheets that we color in. And stripes that you put around the belt as they're moving through, where my son is seeing progression as he's going through the steps. And it's also building his confidence and focusing on certain things like focus, perseverance, strength, telling the truth. And it's really building a well-rounded virtual environment for him as we're kind of coming, hopefully, fingers crossed, to the tail end of this COVID year, to where when he goes back, and we want to send him back to in-person classes at some point, to where he can benefit from that and continue on his journey at Karate America.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's really, really cool to hear. And so what I think is what I'm intrigued about your experience, well, I guess both of your experience, but you specifically, Mr. Meindl, as a parent, with a young child, it's interesting that Lucas's and your entire experience, as you just said, has been virtual with us, right? Start to finish. You were not a family that started brick and mortar and then transitioned to virtual. You from day one were virtual. So I guess my question for you is the virtual karate. I mean, what we've tried to do really, really hard with our worldwide program is not make virtual a bad word, right? Not make virtual a Band-Aid, which I think some programs have just simply done because it's just not their thing to teach virtual. It's like, let's get this out of the way as soon as possible so we can go back to teaching like regular karate. And we really from day one tried to, to your point, tried to embrace the virtual program and be like, we can reach these kids and these families. It's just up to us to do that extra work to make those connections. And we might not get it perfect, but we're going to keep trying and trying and trying until we're making the same or similar connections that we make in our brick and mortar programs with our virtual students. So was your experience like similar to what you thought it would be? What were your expectations and what?
Well, I'd say as far as the product, I took a virtual class and got the uniform and all that because I saw my son doing all that cool stuff. Yep. I'm thinking though, like personally myself, I want to like, no offense to the people I see in class, but I want to like hit something. So, I think I'll want to do in person down the road. Yeah. But it's been cool to see how it's evolved over time and how it's benefited. And also too, I wanted to give a shout out to Mrs. Noss, the person in the background working everything.
Oh, Ms. DeWade?
Or Ms. DeWade, I'm sorry. Excuse me.
Ms. Noss is one of our instructors, but yeah, Ms. DeWade is our community builder. She does an amazing job.
And so it's been great to see the support put there for the kids, and also how it's evolved from originally where it was one-on-one with the instructor, and now the family is required to participate. And I've definitely seen Lucas's eyes brighten and shine up when he's asked to, he comes get us. And I noticed people are sitting there like, oh, those dang Meindls, they're always sometimes in the background, and Lucas has got to go run off and get them. But it's cool to include the family in the exercises and in the training that they're going through to provide that familial balance. And I really like too how encouraging the child as the parent is also encouraged, and how that has developed. And it's been really a cool experience.
Yeah, that's great. And I know you spoke a little bit about Lucas's confidence, but is there anything specific you've seen just change in him, change in your family, for you and your wife?
Oh, in our family? Well,
I mean, like for Lucas, for you guys as a unit, because of what Lucas
Sure. So when Lucas first started, he was very hard on himself if he made a mistake or if he didn't do anything wrong, or if he was put into a high pressure situation. He would just start crying. And again, he was younger, but through the Karate America experience, he has definitely matured and improved on that aspect. So now if he makes a mistake in class, it's not the end of the world. And also too, I think including the parents shows that, like, if he makes a mistake, we're not going to be there and be, oh, son, what have you done? Oh my gosh. It's helped build him confidence that he'll keep going rather than stop. And in a virtual environment where, like, I think all the kids tend to just keep going. And if one makes a mistake, like, and they shrivel or whatever, and start crying, they're encouraged to keep going because their colleagues, their peers are going. In the virtual environment, I think having the parents there kind of fills the gap, and showing all the other kids on screen on your TV really helps them keep going. And so, at home, he's been doing his chores more. That makes my life easier. I'd be a little selfish there. But, and we also have noticed his perseverance, where if he tries something and he doesn't get it the first time, he'll keep going and working through that problem. And that's what's so cool, I think, about karate. And it was kind of the same when I did Taekwondo back then. But giving the children the skill sets to build the foundation to be a successful human being going into the future. And I think that's such a cool thing that Lucas has experienced so far.
Yeah, that's awesome to hear. And we have Mrs. Jury says, I've had the opportunity to do both live and virtual, still continue to work it this way. I found benefits in both. So,
and I think that's a great point too, that I feel that the way it's set up now is really cool. Is, as a dad, I have confidence that if my son wants to go in person and then wants to do a day virtual, both of those will be excellent experiences for him and not wasting his time.
That's awesome. That's great to hear. So, and Mr. Hansen, I want to bounce it back to you. So you are a dad, you are a grandfather. What I know that your children are adults, obviously, but just what you have seen of, because you've been a part of our community. You've been to graduations, you've been to classes, you've been talking to your family members, your kids, as they've grown, even as adults in our program. What have you and your family, what benefits do you see in our program in the martial arts that maybe you weren't completely awake to before? Anything you'd like to share?
Well, I think that, like you said, both of my kids were pretty much adults when they joined. So that younger development was already done. But I found that it is an invaluable tool to their confidence. And both of them are black belts. And so they've gone through the whole program. And I'm sure that they had points along the way that they didn't know if they were going to make it. They didn't know if they could keep going, and they persevered and they made it all the way through. And obviously Ryan found his passion in life, which, as Ed says, those are his words, of what he wanted to do, which prompted him to sell his business and do this completely that was what he wanted to do.
And touch so many other lives now, and changed so many lives. I mean, he was Lucas Meindl's first instructor, which I think is really cool. You guys have come for full circle here with Mr. Meindl.
Well, and while he was taking classes, before Mary or I were involved in classes, you had all your underbelt graduations at that church in Wauwatosa.
Yep, at St. John's.
At St. John's. And because we did the printing, I learned that there was a graduation coming up, because he never told me. And so I said, oh, geez, I said to Mary, I said, he's got graduation Saturday. And we would just show up.
Yeah.
And he said, why are you still coming? I mean, we put our kids into a lot of things as they were growing up. and we were involved. We coached. We were at we just didn't drop them off and go home. We were involved with them in camps, whatnot. So here he is in his 20s, late 20s, and here we are in the bleachers watching him kick pieces of film and do all of the things. And he says, "Why are you still coming to watch me play?" I said, "Well, it's what parents do.
They're still mom and dad, right?"
And so, then afterwards, after he started instructing along the way at those events, then we'd see kids come up to him and with confidence and how he related to him or to them. And I know that was through the participation in Karate America, through the values that he had now learned and was now practicing and teaching. I could just see it. And the black belt graduations out at is it Sussex, Hamilton?
At Hamilton Fine Arts, yeah.
Hamilton Fine Arts, same deal. Out in the lobby afterwards, all these kids are coming up and thanking him.
Yeah.
So, I know that those kinds of things came through Karate America, and Jessie too, and her involvement with parents, and she's in a slightly different type of job.
Yeah, different role. But
Different
shout out to Miss Hansen. She's a huge part of our team.
Yep.
And, we were actually just interviewing a new community builder for a front desk position today. And I was sharing how, at these graduations, it's funny that you bring up the kids, having their pictures taken and parents thanking people. And I mean, Miss Hansen is right there. Even if she's not an instructor, she has a huge impact on people's lives and on their journey in martial arts. And like Mr. Meindl was saying, Ms. DeWade is the community builder virtual. I mean, those are the people that make the journey really special in addition to the instructors. So she's got a huge role to play as well.
So I know she's grown through that as well. So as I said, those are kind of, there isn't a little, where our children were little and they grew through it. They grew more in a different way, more so than earning confidence or things like that.
Well, yeah, and I think you bring up a great point. But I mean, those of us who started training, and if any of you that are watching, viewing, us live right now, let us know what your experience has been. I know a lot of you adults right now and parents, over 95% of our adult students are parents of our students who are like, "Oh, I'll sign up my son or daughter," and then they watch for a few weeks, they watch for a few months, they get a coupon for bring a friend or something, and they start themselves. But even we as adults, it's like I think a lot of us do get more confident, or we get more focused, or as adults, I know that the focus is certainly on the physicality, obviously the flexibility and the cardio and the strengthening and things like that. But I've heard from adults over the years, like, I go to my job 40, 50 hours a week, and then I come here, not just for the physical outlet, but just the positivity, the values, the purpose, to be in a place where people talk to each other and deal with each other the way that we talk to each other, with our purpose and values and just that positive outlook. I think that there's a lot of growth to be done, even as an adult student. So.
And the community.
Yeah.
And the community isn't as easy to do worldwide as it is in person. But, for the most part, we've been going on a Monday, Wednesday cycle, and now you've opened up the Tuesday, Thursday, which is great for us because we have different activities that we're doing up here. And there might be a day where we get way late on something. It's like, geez, let's go tomorrow night. We don't want to miss it, but rather than to rush home or stop doing whatever we've been doing for the day, we've got the flexibility. So from mainly going Monday, Wednesday, there was a certain group of people that was always there.
Yeah.
And so through worldwide, we were able to connect a little bit to some level of community. And now being able to kind of, not that we want to flip-flop our nights, we want to try to be consistent, but the ability to switch to another night allows us, like last week, we had little Miss Parker up here for the week, for the end of the week. We got her on Wednesday and took her home on Sunday. Well, instead of missing class, we went Monday and Tuesday. And we were able, because there just was going to be no way that we could do class with little Miss Parker running around. And that, just for those of you who don't know, that's our granddaughter, Ryan's
Yeah.
daughter.
She's
So,
two.
She's
She's
two.
a handful.
She's two and a half. And
That's right.
and sooner or later she's going to be running around one of those workout rooms.
Oh yeah, she'll be a little ninja soon.
She'll be a little ninja soon. But anyways, so the ability to be able to move around, and quite frankly, if there wasn't a virtual program, we wouldn't be in it. It just we'd have to find something else for that, either community or that physical aspect or whatever. So I'm very thankful that your worldwide program has evolved to where it is, because I'm feeling better, but on a certain level, we've also got another little element, another connection to our kids, because there's times they come up here, meaning Ryan and Jesse, and it's like, hey, we just don't understand this. So let's go upstairs and you need to show us, so they get put to work sometimes when they come up here.
You got the inside track on some private lessons there.
Exactly.
Well, speaking of something that sometimes I think can be challenges, we all face them in our training. Mr. Meindl, have you guys had any challenges? I know you spoke a little bit about like how he has perseverance now, but have there been any kind of roadblocks or places that maybe he wanted to quit that he's worked through? Any negatives that you guys have navigated, as a family since he started?
So something I would say, like, as for us as a family, is setting a weekly schedule, because especially with Lucas, if he doesn't do it for a week, you definitely start seeing the step backs in behavior, in confidence. You forget things like we do too. Like if we stop doing something for X amount, you're not going to be as good at it if you're not practicing all the time. And so I think for us as a family, it's helped us try to set time so that way Lucas can focus and be in the moment with his experience at Karate America, and for us to try to, little tidbit, we have a 7-month-year-old baby right now too. So I'm sure Mr. Peepers used to see me running around in the back room, trying to help Lucas and grabbing the baby. Then the dogs are freaking out and rinsing and repeating. But it's turned into like a cool ritual we do twice a week now. But it's fun,
life, man.
Right?
Real life in Karate America worldwide.
And so it's been cool. And so I would say our biggest thing has just been making sure you're setting that schedule and doing it twice a week. Because even on weeks where he's just done it once a week, you definitely see a little bit of a pullback the next week he participates in the virtual program. And I would anticipate if he goes in person and then misses that, we'll probably have a greater decrease, retrace of what he learned or what they were working on that week.
Well, sure. And then they get nervous to come back to class.
Absolutely. The confidence thing, they weren't there for a week, and then all of a sudden you got to put the belt and the uniform on, and then you got to go and do your thing. Right. So for us as a family with Lucas, for myself, it's just me getting off of my butt and participating in some exercise. But from the family experience, and it's cool too to see, like, I'm a plus 30-year-old millennial, but I've got a little 6-year-old, and seeing how that kind of translates into the priorities and how those change between the different generations participating.
Say more about that. I'm intrigued. What do you mean by that?
Well, like for me, right, I work all day, and then I'm sitting, and then it's like, oh, you got to get on your cat, and then jump and do some punches and stuff, and you're like, oh, do I really want to do this? But it's like working out, right? Like, if you work out, you feel great afterwards, but it's getting there that's the hard part.
Yeah, the buildup is always dread, and then after it's like, I'm so glad I did that. I can't wait to do it again.
Where Lucas is kind of, I feel elation, he feels confidence, where he was really nervous. Oh, I don't know if I can do this. I don't know if I can do this. But then when he finishes, he's like, yeah, I did karate. And it's carried over too at daycare and at his school. There's been a couple instances where some kids, boys will be boys, started harassing him. And he didn't, utilize any of the techniques he's used, but he had the confidence to step in and stop something that was going on with one of his friends, and no one got hurt. So that was really cool to see.
That's like Mr. Quirk always says, that's real self-defense. That's really using the martial arts is when we don't have to use any kind of physicality. It's like he says, we've lost control if we actually have to use the training. It's all the, the verbal and, like, to your point, the confidence and the non-physical things. That's when the martial arts kicks in.
Yeah. And Lucas is seeing his work he puts in the virtual environment pay off in real life. And we've asked him on multiple occasions, like, how are you liking karate? How is this work going? And he's like, I really like it now. We're like, are you just saying that? Like, do you want ice cream, or like, what's the game here? But overall, it's just really helped him a lot.
That's so cool. Has he earned any excellence badges yet? The magnets?
Yeah, he got focus.
Okay, cool.
We accidentally gave it. You can tell Mr. Pieper, we gave it to him too early. I'm kind of a stickler to make sure that you put your full week of work in to get that. But he's working on his next one right now. That's
really, really cool. Speaking of Peepers, we have Mrs. Pieper, one of our Karate America moms and students here. She said, worldwide is a way for me to take class while traveling on business. Oh, interesting. Stepping back into class is much easier knowing when I travel. I can continue with class in the evenings. Yeah, I think Mrs. Pieper brings up a great point, and so do you, Mr. Meindl, just about how important it is for adults to train and just stay active. And Mr. Hansen, I really like what you brought up about, like, even if it's not exactly the same as brick and mortar in person, it is still some kind of a connection. It is a community. We work really, really hard to try as much as we can, through the medium of Zoom and virtual, to build that community. Our instructors know your names and they know what each student is going through. And Ms. DeWade is welcoming people. We had an interview today, and I found myself saying to somebody, well, this is where, our front desk person welcomes all of our families for virtual. And I could see kind of the wheels turning, like, how would you welcome families into the academy? But that's how we truly believe that Worldwide is one of our academies. We have a front office person, a community builder that talks to our moms and dads. And I know our instructors have conversations if needed offline to give students that extra help. But Mr. Hansen, as an adult who started, we'll say over the age of 18, an adult, what have you found? I know you said a little bit about some of the physical benefits, but what have you experienced since you started training in October? Just physically as a martial arts student.
Physically, the first week, and Mr. Pieper will tell you this, my kicks, nothing was anywhere close to anything resembling a kick, period. And now things move better. I'm more flexible. I'm stronger. And he notices it. Anybody who might be instructing, in like, obviously right now, Mr. Quirk is running he notices. And yeah. It's funny because when we used to go and watch Ryan on those Saturdays at the church for his graduation, I would see so many adults, and their kicks weren't as good as Mr. Quirk's. Few are. But I thought, how can you do that? And then once I started, I learned how that can be. Things take a lot of work.
Yep.
And repetition, and then the body starts to accept all of this, and that's kind of where it's fun now, because now we can do the different things that are thrown at us, mm-hmm. and we come out of it. Hey, that was pretty good. We did all right. and to Mr. Meindl's point about there's been a lot of nights where we've maybe we were doing something else outside. We were out hiking, skiing, whatever, who knows what. Mm-hmm. It's like, I don't really feel like going tonight.
Yeah.
But we did, and started off slow, but afterwards it's like, boy, am I glad we went. I feel really good now, not only physically, but mentally I feel good. I finished on a high note. Maybe it was a Wednesday class, before there were Thursday classes, and that was the last class for us for the week. And it's like, great, I've got a launching pad into the rest of my week, feeling good and confident about what I've done. And so that's an important thing, for us, because we've got to stay active.
Yeah.
Being retired, we can't just sit here and do nothing. We just do it. It won't work.
Yeah, absolutely.
So this is a great way to stay active in conjunction with the other activities that we do.
Yeah. Well, you bring up an interesting point because I know, and I guess for both of you, because I know Mr. Meindl, I don't know if you're actively training anymore, but I know you said you took, some of the classes and you have some experience in martial arts yourself. But a lot of people that I talk to that are not sort of in the world and in the realm of martial arts, when I invite them, just, hey, come try a couple classes, they're like, oh, I could never do that. I think that people have this sort of built up, like they have to be like Bruce Lee or something like that to participate, or they have to be just a certain maybe stereotype that they have built up in their head of what martial arts is. But I've taken classes in our program. I've taken classes in other martial arts programs. For me, what do you guys think? I mean, I feel like it's a fairly approachable program for like regular people, like that don't have to be like superstar athletes. I also feel like the instructors, for me at least, I know I'm biased, but they're pretty welcoming. And this isn't sort of a, one of those like a tough guy environment where it's about like hitting bricks and things like that. I feel like it's a really safe place for people to go and just try to work on whatever they want to work on.
I thought as a newbie on the virtual side, on the adult side, the blending of the more advanced students with the newer students was very important. And I didn't feel overwhelmed at any point where I was like, I have no idea what the heck I'm doing. Meanwhile, these guys are doing all this other stuff, but separating in the breakout rooms as a new person was very helpful. And also too, the more advanced student that I was paired with for a short amount of time was very encouraging and very helpful when I would do a correct move, a correct punch, or what have you. So that really helped a lot.
Nice.
Yeah, that's something that it's an environment where it doesn't matter how advanced you are or how beginning you are. There has not been one situation where I've ever felt out of place. And so when, like Mr. Meindl said, we're paired with, because I have to give kudos to Mr. Pieper and Mr. Knightsky and so forth. All these people have instructed us along the way because they have to deal with somebody who can barely, lift their foot up to make a kick, to people who, can jump and spin and do all this stuff and satisfy all of us.
Yeah.
And when they pair us with one of these, more advanced belts or somebody with a red uniform, it could be, in the beginning, I was kind of like, oh my goodness, it's kind of intimidating.
Kind of intimidating, yeah.
But it never came across that way. The people who we were paired with in those red uniforms, any of them, in all of them, it was just as though we were all one. And, that goes back to the community, that goes back to your program and how everything filters down so that everybody, I'm far from a black belt, but I don't feel inferior, even though I can't do much of what they can do. It doesn't matter.
It's amazing what happens when we just drop ego and be, vulnerable around each other and just embrace each other. And I think that it's so important too. I mean, to be completely honest, it's like, I think it's Mrs. Jury that frequently says Karate America is the family that we get to choose. It's like, we all truly, the purpose and the values really resonate pretty deeply with each one of us. So there is actually a connection, whether we're a brand new white belt or a multiple degree black belt. And the physicality that shows up in class is just one piece of that connection. I think that makes a big difference. Like, we're kind of all there for the same reason. One of us maybe work on flexibility, somebody else, my kid's confidence, but we're all bonded by this purpose and values. And Mrs. Deacon is sharing the physical enhances the mental and emotional experience. It all works together to build confidence in life off the mat. That's words of wisdom from Mrs. Deacon. Absolutely. So we're going to be wrapping up our hour here. We're already pretty much to the end of the hour. Thank you guys both I know you're both very, very busy. Thank you for being on the stream tonight. But before we get going, what I wanted to know, like I said in the beginning of the show, is, we're talking about dads, role models, leadership this month in June. So can you please share with us, because I think people listening always like to get new ideas from our guests. What do you do as far as, is there anything you read, podcasts? What do you do for personal development when you're not taking class or you're not parenting future black belts? What do you do as far as personal development in your lives that might be helpful for some of our viewers?
Well, go ahead.
Okay, so one of the questions when we were prepping for this was like, who would you view as a role model
As a role
yourself,
model.
as a
Yep.
father, right?
Right.
And for me, I was thinking about it, and with everything going on in the world that's so crazy, I think putting, and I'm not trying to get into a debate, but like putting someone as a role model and putting all your faith into a human being might not necessarily be sometimes the best course of action, because we're all human and we all make mistakes.
Mhm.
But looking at attributes and qualities of individuals that you like, that to look up to and strive for. So one of mine, and my poor kids, I rag on Lucas all the time, but to tell the truth, even sometimes if it hurts, in a respectful manner.
Yeah.
Because then that will be your guiding light as you get older. And there's a lot of people in different areas throughout the world, that told the truth, whether it was various leaders in the 1960s, or we have some leaders now. So things like that. And also making sure that you work on your integrity and yourself as a human being, to know that when you tell someone something, you mean it, you follow through with your responsibilities. If you say you're going to be somewhere, you're somewhere. And those are the people that people look up to. And I myself, in my personal life, if I had to choose an individual that would be apolitical, it'd definitely be my dad, my old man. He's always has just went to work. My mom was a stay-at-home mom, did his job, told the truth, said how he felt, took care of me growing up, and led by example to show me how to try and be a dad when I got older.
That's awesome. Looks like you did a really good job.
Yeah.
What about you, Mr. Hansen?
Well, I'd have to echo Mr. Meindl. It isn't so much a person, but the attributes, but it would be my parents. And later on, after we got married, I'd have to add Mary's parents in there. And to all of the things that Mr. Meindl said, the biggest thing that they did, that they showed, they didn't talk about it. They worked hard. They didn't have a lot. They didn't have everything at their doorstep, but whatever they had, they worked for. They managed to raise us. I have 3 brothers. So my parents raised 4 kids, and we grew up never thinking we were, at this level or that level or whatever. It was just, that's the way we were. And you watched their involvement in the church with their friends, the things, and they helped people. And so those are fundamental things that a person really needs. And it not so much role model as it is just the attributes of those people. And like I said, I was fortunate enough when I got married that Mary's parents were of the same, they were in the same mold. And so no matter where we were exposed to this. I was exposed to the same examples of working hard, and they all worked very hard. And
you have passed it down now to the newest generation of Hansens. I can attest at Karate America, they have great work ethics.
And that's all we can do, really, is we can, kids don't always listen. They don't listen to advice until they do something that they weren't supposed to do, or that you kind of let them know that they shouldn't do. And they came to the realization on their own that, maybe mom or dad wasn't too far off on that one. And that's a hard thing to do as a parent, is to say, okay, you don't want to listen to me. And we didn't run into that too much when they were younger, but we run into it when they're older. It's like, hey, we've got 60 years under our belts.
You're like, ask me. I've done the ask me. I'm a wealth of knowledge.
We
got this.
We raised 4 kids. We know something, but and then it's like, oh yeah, I remember you were telling me that, and yeah, that's right, Dad. I know that.
Mom and Dad are pretty smart, turns out.
Yeah, it turns out, but yeah. But no, that's the big thing is really our parents. And there were some very good friends of our parents, my parents, that that I wouldn't say they were second parents, but we're very involved with them as families in neighborhood and stuff like that. and you're just exposed to all this other stuff. And when you constantly are around good people, you're going to get some good stuff happening. It might not be the whole picture, but at least you're getting the foundation. And then when these kids who are exposed to that are able to come into your programs and get some refinement, some confirmation that, you know, hey, we're teaching the same kind of things that you're hearing at home. That's really helpful. It's really valuable.
Yeah, well, thank you for that. I mean, I think that's one of the really powerful things about our program is that, you know, in our summer camp, our after school, our martial arts classes, parents consistently say, it's so nice to bring my kids in and have them be surrounded by leaders and role models that are saying the same things we say at home, that are just really, you know, having the same purpose and values and things that we want our kids to be surrounded with. And who we hang out with and spend time with matters, right? It rubs off. Yeah. And so, you know, I really love that we have this place where people can come of any age and be positive, and just, you know, the world sometimes is a rather dark and confusing place, but at Karate America, we always, you know, focus on the positive. And I think that sometimes that's really important, no matter what age we are. Sometimes even as adults, it might be even more important sometimes.
Yeah.
So thank you guys so much again for being on for our show tonight. I really appreciate your time. Yeah. Thank you for being our guest. Thank you for being parents, students, role models, leaders, dads in our community. It was great to have you. Thank you, everybody who's been watching tonight. Yep. Thanks for being here on our live stream. Next week, we're going to have a special guest, a martial artist from out of town, out of state, actually, Mr. Dan Hart. I'm going to be putting some information up on Facebook and letting you know about Mr. Hart, so you can tune in next week, next Tuesday at 8 p.m. Central, 9 p.m. Eastern. Until then, thanks everybody so much for watching tonight. Have a great rest of your week. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.